Hi guys, in this video I provide a somewhat advanced example about generics on methods. I will use the same package class that I have used in other videos on generics. So the package has a single item, it has a getter and a setter method. And we can put any type of object in that package. Now in the main, I implement a static method named add_to_all. And this expects a single toy and an array list of packages. And these packages can only contain a toy. Now, if I'm jumping ahead here and you're not familiar with array list yet, the concept of an array list is a sequence of objects where we can add arbitrary number of objects to it. We can remove objects to it. So it's really just the concept of a list. If you're more curious about array list or linked list, check out one of my other videos on these two classes. For this example here, you only need to know that an array list is a sequence of objects. Now, inside this method, I iterate over the objects, and the objects here are packages. So for each package, I want to add the toy to that package. So I call p set item and pass the toy to it. So it's really a method where I have a single toy and I want to put it in a bunch of packages. Now in the main, I create a new array list that has packages that can contain toys, call the constructor of an array list, and then I add some packages to it. So first one that can contain a toy, and I copy this line to add a second package to it. So I call add 2 times. Each one I create a new object. Next, I create a toy. And with that toy, I call the add_to_all method. I pass the toy to it and the list. And now this method will take the toy and put it in all the packages that are contained in the list. This works fine until I have an array list of packages that have another type. So for this example, let me close the packages here. And let's say I have an array list. So this is example 2. Let's say I have an array list with packages that can contain strings. And here again, to list 2, I add a new package to it. This package can contain a string, and I don't just add a single package. In this case, I add 3 packages to it. It's really just arbitrary. The point is here, we have a list with packages that can contain toys, and here we have a list with packages that contain strings. Next, I call the add_to_all method. I pass in a string, and I want this string to be put in every package that's in the list. Now here I get a compile error, and the reason is that the generic argument with string here does not match the parameters in the method signature, right? He expects a toy, and here it expects a package with a toy inside. Now I could duplicate the code and then write it for strings, but that's not really what we want, because the code would essentially be the same except for the typing. So here is a good example to use generics. What I want to do and what I want to preserve is the relationship between the first parameter type and the type, the generic argument that I have here. So these have to match, because if they are different, then I would not be able to call the setItem method. Now, to declare a generic argument on a method, we use the diamond operator in the method signature, and I can specify a generic argument. You can see here, now I have the generic argument, t, and now I can use t anywhere in the method. I can say I want to use t here, and t here. So t is the generic parameter, and this ensures now that the type that is passed to it, and the type is inferred here by the first argument. So when I call it up here with toy, it's automatically matched to toy. So toy is now the generic argument, and it will only work if I pass in an array list with packages of toy. If I pass in here a string, I will make sure that the array list with packages is also a string. So for example, if I would call add to all, and I pass in some string, and I pass in the list from the first example, this will not match. It will produce a compile error because the type here is not the same. Here it's a string, but in the array list and the package type, it's a toy. So this helps me to preserve the array list by introducing a generic parameter and then using it to build to wherever I need to, and then I have the relationship here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.